All right, so for this video, I'm going to talk about something called the sticking point whenever it comes to lucid dream awareness. And this is something that I've discovered when doing my stress ball technique, whenever I'm focusing on my anchor as I fall asleep. One of the things that I've discovered is that, and this is also through meditation, whenever I do my daily meditations, what happens is that I've discovered that there is a direct correlation between how easy it is to focus on something, or how easy it is to stay focused on something, and how long you focus on something. So basically, like in other words, the longer you focus on something, the easier it gets to stay focused on that thing, right? So, in other words, in another example, you could say that basically, um, focusing on something for the first 15 minutes is more difficult than focusing on something for the next 15 minutes after that, right? And this is something that's really important for anyone who's trying to maintain awareness, or they're trying to have an intent in their head as they're falling asleep. Is that what most people try to do is they try to basically focus on something really hard, like they do this shit, or they focus on something really hard, but all that does is it gives you insomnia, it keeps you awake, right? And so what you need to look at here is you need to look at it in terms of how long can you focus on something. Because what happens is that if you focus on something for long enough, first of all, it gets easier for you to stay focused. The longer you focus on something, the easier it is for you to stay focused on that thing, first of all. Um, but second of all, what happens is that if you focus on something for long enough, your brain eventually hits a sticking point, is what I call it, where basically your brain just sort of gives up and accepts it, right? And your brain, because what happens is it's almost like you're entering a sort of meditative, sort of trance state of consciousness, where because of the fact that you've focused on something for long enough, because of the fact that you focused on something for long enough, you basically get to the point where your brain just sort of accepts it, and it automatically focuses on it, or there's very little energy required to stay focused on the thing, right? So it is sort of like a snowball effect. I mean, think about, like, if you've ever fallen asleep to like the sound of like rain outside or something like that. You're just focusing on it. You're for such a long period for such a long period of time that your brain just sort of hits that sticking point, and then it just sort of accepts it, and then you might have a dream about rain, or the sound of rain, or something like that, right? But that's basically one of the ways that you can think about how do you maintain awareness all the way until you fall asleep, is that you're basically trying to hit a sticking point. You're trying to retain awareness of whatever your chosen anchor is, whether it's the sound of your fan, whether it's something you hold inside of your hands, whether it's your blanket over your skin, whether it's the blackness behind your eyelids. What you want to do is, instead of focusing on your anchor with intensity, what you want to do is you want to focus on it with you want to focus on it for a long period of time. You want to think long term. You want to think attention span. And what will happen is that if you focus on something for long enough, what will happen is that you'll eventually hit that sticking point where your brain just sort of accepts it, and it becomes, you enter this sort of trance like state where your brain, because of the fact that your brain just sort of accepts it, it'll keep those neural pathways online. It'll keep that awareness online automatically, almost completely on its own. And then after that, your brain, because of the fact that your brain hits that sticking point, and it just sort of accepts your anchor as a part of its mental state, then after that, your brain will relax enough that you'll fall asleep with that anchor awareness in your brain just automatically there, and then you'll enter the dream, and this has happened to me a lot, where you'll just automatically know that you're in a dream, or you'll have enough awareness that you'll start to question things in the dream, like, oh, like, why are my teeth falling out, why am I naked, right? Stuff like that, right? So that's something that that I found is a really cool principle behind, how do you maintain awareness all the way until you fall asleep, is that you're using that sticking point. You're using the fact that, like, the longer you focus on something, the easier it becomes to stay focused. Right? Yet again, focusing on something for the first 15 minutes versus focusing on something for the next 15 minutes after that, right? It's completely different, right? It's the focus on the start that is more difficult. But if you focus on something for long enough, if you stay focused over a period of time, as you fall asleep, then it becomes easier and easier and easier for your brain to stay focused on that thing. For it becomes easier for your brain to keep those neural pathways online, in order for you to enter the dream with some sort of awareness. And then once you hit that sticking point, then your brain just sort of automatically accepts the slightly increased awareness, and then it falls asleep automatically with that increased state of awareness. But yeah, that's the video.